There's already a lot of dating advice out there about how to get a date, whether that's with cold approaching or dating apps, things to do on a first date, how to tell if she's into you or not. But there's a real lack of advice out there about the most difficult part of dating, which is taking things to the next level and inviting her back to your place. And in today's video, I'm going to share with you a few steps on how you can do this successfully and in a way that feels safe and respectful for her. I'll tell you how to make the decision of whether or not to invite her back to your place, how to frame the question, and then what to do when you get back to yours. I'll also help you prepare and set up your home so that it's an appealing and comfortable environment for a woman. Hello, my name is James, and I'm on a mission to create a generation of gentlemen. So first, let's talk about when you should invite a woman back to your place. This might happen on the first date, it might happen on the second date, it might not happen until the fourth or fifth date. It all depends on what kind of relationship you're looking for, what she's looking for, and also your general levels of comfort and personal boundaries. Typically, for a more casual relationship, things will escalate to the point of going to each other's homes much sooner than somebody who's dating for marriage. Those types of people will typically want to wait, hold out a little longer before making things intimate. Many women have a rule of not going back to a guy's place on the first date. However, if they find you extremely hot, they might break this rule anyway. So for the majority of your date, you don't want to be thinking about taking her back to yours. Even though I know it's very hard to resist, you need to be present and very mindful and enjoy the conversation and the date itself. Never see the date as this necessary thing that you have to get out of the way before you can get her back to yours and into your bedroom. Ideally, don't start thinking about this possibility until the date draws to a natural conclusion. So if you're having dinner, this might be when the dessert arrives. That's a good time to start looking for some signs that she's interested and potentially pose the question. So, what's a sign that she's interested in coming back to yours? At a minimum, you want to have broken the touch barrier on some level. This could be in a non-sexual way, for example with your arm around her shoulder, or it could be in a more sexual way with your hand on her thigh. You might have kissed at this point, but you might not have done. Either way, you're looking to see if there's already some level of comfort. You've already established some kind of physical rapport. If you've just sat across from each other all night without making any kind of contact, it's gonna seem too much of a jump to say, let's go back to my place. It's too jarring. There needs to be some kind of smooth transition of a slight degree of physical intimacy in a public place before suggesting to take that private. And I understand that the restaurant is not always the best environment for creating this kind of intimacy. You're often sat across from each other, so you're not reaching out and touching her. You're probably not playing footsies under the table. If the date's going amazingly, you may have held hands across the table or moved to sit next to her. But for the most part, for most dinner dates, you won't have broken the touch barrier by the end of the date. But if you feel like it's going really well and you still feel in the back of your mind that you would possibly like to take her back to your place at the end of the night, then what you want to do is propose a second venue. After dinner, say, let's go for a drink somewhere else. And then when you get to that bar, you can sit next to her, and that's going to be a much easier opportunity to break that physical touch barrier and make things a bit more comfortable and intimate. So once there is some sense of physical connection and chemistry there between you, then it's time to ask the question. The way you ask a woman back to your place is incredibly important. The best way to invite a woman back to your place is to make it an open, low-pressure suggestion. And you never want to make any explicit mention of sex or anything physical happening. That's why that age-old euphemism of coming back for tea or coffee exists. We can't say what's exactly going to happen, but everybody understands the game. So I recommend saying something like this. Hey, if you don't feel ready yet, that's totally cool, but I would love to finish the night at my place and I can make you that cocktail we were talking about. Or we can open that bottle of wine we were talking about earlier. If you suggest drinking something or reference something that happened earlier in the date, it feels more like a natural continuation. And maybe you mentioned a pet that you have that she would like to see, or maybe there was something interesting in your home that you mentioned. Maybe you play guitar, you say, I would love to show you my collection of guitars. Not that I say that one. So this way, it feels very open and very low pressure, but there's a natural reason why she's going to come back to your place. You're not just saying, hey, we should go back to mine, because then she goes, okay, yeah, I know what you're thinking about, but maybe I'm not ready. However, if you say, let's go back to mine, you mentioned you love margaritas, I love making them, I would love to make you one of mine to end the night, then in her mind she's thinking, okay, I'm just gonna go back for a drink. It's very natural, it feels safe and friendly. It does also help at this point if your place is quite close by. Now, if your place is literally above the restaurant, then she might be thinking, okay, this is a bit of a setup. But 1 or 2 blocks away, 10-minute walk, a short drive, that's perfect distance. It's gonna be much harder if you say, let's go back to my place, and then it's an hour's drive going in the opposite direction. The thing is, if she wants to come back home with you, she will. You don't need to use any body language tricks, use any particularly seductive language. The most important thing in today's world is just making her feel safe and not pressured. And when you pose this question, she's either going to tell you, yes, I would love to, or she's going to say, not tonight, but thanks. And either way, it's very important that you respond in a polite and calm manner. Just because she said she doesn't want to go back to yours tonight, doesn't mean the possibility isn't there for future dates. However, if you act like a jerk and throw your toys out the pram because she's not going to come back to yours, that will end the possibility of it happening in the future. We need to talk a little bit about what state your home should be in before bringing her back. You don't always know which dates are going to lead to her coming back to yours and which ones aren't. So before you leave the home, before any date, give it a tidy up, make sure it's clean, make sure that if you were to bring somebody back, there's nothing around that would cause you any embarrassment or that would make a woman feel uncomfortable. There are some things every man should have in his home to be prepared for when a woman comes over. I'm talking about some proper drinking glasses, a cozy throw blanket to snuggle up with, and of course, a scented candle to create not only a pleasant aroma, but also a relaxing atmosphere. So here's what you do when she gets back to yours to make her feel relaxed, comfortable, even a little bit sexy. You want to dim the lights, but still have some lights on. Create that mood, make it relaxing, but don't have them so dark that she can barely see. That's not gonna make her feel safe. Pour her that drink, that cocktail, or that wine that you spoke about earlier, but also give her a glass of water. It's a nice idea to play some music. However, we don't want to turn on our ultimate sex playlist with saxophones, Barry White. That would be too cheesy. And you can get into this territory when you bring a woman back of being over-prepared. If there are candles everywhere, there's sexy music playing, the wine glasses are already laid out, there's rose petals on the bed, then that's gonna make it seem like a trap. She's going to feel like she walked into a setup, a trap that you laid for her. Now, in a relationship, it's beautiful to do those things. Lovely to be romantic and plan ahead. But if it's a date where she didn't even know if she was gonna go home with you or not, and then she gets back to yours and it's clear that your intention was there from the start, that's going to actually be very off-putting. There needs to be some element of spontaneity. Be prepared, but don't plan. When she gets back at yours, don't rush to take things into the bedroom too quickly. Sit at the kitchen counter for a while, drinking your wine and talking. Continue the conversation, that's really important. Maybe you move to the sofa. Maybe things escalate a little bit intimately, kissing, etc. But you want to be doing that for a little while rather than just bringing her straight back into the bedroom. And remember, just because she went back to yours for this drink or to look at your cat doesn't necessarily mean that she's ready to have sex with you. And you have to be perfectly okay with that if that's what happens. Don't have this expectation in your mind that she said she's coming back to mine, that equals she's gonna have sex with me, and if that doesn't happen, then I'm not a happy guy. Going back to your home isn't a form of sexual consent. You still need to be respectful and appreciative of her even if she's not ready to take things further. If you do that and you act like a gentleman, the chances of that happening in the future are much higher. And before I wrap up this video, I really want to emphasize how important it is that your home is clean, especially in the bedroom, the bathroom, and the kitchen areas. It needs to smell nice. Your bedding needs to be washed, comfortable, and you also want to have a speaker to play some music out of. Don't play music just on your phone. It's all about creating that relaxing, that comfortable, and slightly sexy atmosphere. Plenty of women have the experience at least once of going back to a guy's place with the full intention of hooking up with him, but then his place has been so gross and uncomfortable that they've just left straight away. So you never want to be that guy. Gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I hope you don't mind me tackling God, the sun's really coming in strong now. I hope you don't mind me tackling a topic that's a little bit taboo, but I think it's important that we learn how to navigate these slightly more complex and unspoken about parts of dating like a gentleman. Let me know in the comments if you've enjoyed this video. I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.